I should have known better. I used to warn people about this exact thing. But somehow I became the one who got trapped. She didn't just take my heart. She took my name, my freedom, and almost my future. If I hadn't walked into that courtroom that morning, I'd still believe she loved me. Now I know better, and it hurts like hell. This one wasn't easy to write. But I knew I had to after reading an email from someone who's been following the channel for over a year. He didn't say much, just a few quiet lines, but one sentence stopped me cold. You don't know you're the victim until the mask slips. I sat there with that line echoing in my head. At first, I felt this hot flush of shame. Then came the weight, that dull, heavy feeling in your chest when a truth finally hits. I wasn't stupid. I was just hopeful. I believed in her, because believing in her meant I didn't have to face how lonely I really was. That message reminded me. We don't fall because we're weak. We fall because we're trying to stand back up after something else broke us. And sometimes, we cling to the first hand that reaches for us, even if it's the one holding the knife. If you've been through anything like this, or if you just need to know you're not alone, I hope this story helps. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I read every message, I really do. And to those of you who keep returning, who've shared your stories, supported with super thanks, or just quietly listened, thank you. You've helped turn my pain into something I can finally speak about. Alright, let me take you back to where it all started. I'm sitting here on my balcony, 40 floors above Bangkok's chaos, trying to piece together how it all went so wrong. The tea's getting cold in my hands, just like it did that morning 6 months ago when Pacheri sat right where I'm sitting now. She was laughing about something I'd said, her English perfect as always, not a trace of the broken bar girl accent most expats expect. Russ, you worry too much about paperwork, she'd said, reaching across to squeeze my hand. Maybe I should just marry you to keep you legal here. I laughed too. God, I actually laughed. I thought she was flirting. I thought she was falling for me the same way I was falling for her. She had this way of making me feel like I was the smartest man in the room, even when I was being the biggest fool. We'd just gotten back from Hua Hin that weekend, 3 days at a beach resort where she'd introduced me to her cousin's family as her boyfriend. Not her client, not her project, her boyfriend. I felt proud walking beside her, this beautiful woman who understood visa law better than most lawyers, who could navigate Bangkok's bureaucracy like she was born for it. Which, I guess, she was. You know what I love about you? She'd said that night on the beach. You're not like the other farangs, you actually listen. I should have asked what she meant by that. I should have asked a lot of things. But I didn't. I just held her hand and watched the waves, and told myself I'd finally gotten lucky. At 62, after 25 years helping people navigate the U.S. immigration system, after watching my marriage in Portland crumble because I worked too much and cared too little, I thought I'd found someone who saw me as more than a visa stamp or a paycheck. I thought I'd found love in the most unlikely place. What I found was something else entirely. The thing is, I came to Thailand for all the wrong reasons, but I thought they were the right ones. My divorce was final in January, and by March I was on a plane to Bangkok with 2 suitcases and a retirement account that seemed massive until I started spending it. I was running from my old life more than running to a new one. 25 years of immigration consulting had left me burned out and cynical. I'd seen every scam, every sob story, every manipulation tactic people use to get visas. I thought that experience would protect me. I was wrong about that too. The first few months were harder than I'd expected. The heat, the language barrier, the constant feeling of being lost even with GPS. I was living in a serviced apartment in Thonglor, paying tourist rates for everything, getting ripped off daily and knowing it but too tired to fight. That's when I found Pacheri's law firm. I needed help with my tourist visa extension, and someone at the Expat bar recommended their office near Asoke Station. Ask for Pacheri, the guy said. She speaks better English than you do. He was right. When I walked into that cramped office above a 7-Eleven, she was the only one who looked up from her desk. Mr. Bannister? She said, not even checking her appointment book. Immigration consultant from Portland, Oregon. Divorced, no children, looking to retire in Thailand long term. I was impressed and a little unnerved that she'd done her homework. I like to know who I'm helping, she said with a smile that seemed genuine. Most people just want the stamp. You want to build a life here. That's different. She was different too. Not just because she was educated, though that was part of it. Not just because she was beautiful, though she was that too, in a subtle way that snuck up on you. It was because she treated me like a person, not a case file or a walking ATM. When she explained the visa requirements, she didn't talk down to me. When she showed me the forms, she actually explained what they meant, instead of just telling me to sign. Immigration law is like cooking, she said that first day. If you understand the ingredients, you can make anything taste good. Over the next month, as she helped me transition from tourist visa to retirement visa, our conversations started lasting longer. Coffee after appointments became dinner sometimes. She'd tell me about growing up in Chiang Mai, how she'd worked her way through law school, how she'd moved to Bangkok to work in immigration because she wanted to help people navigate the system instead of getting lost in it. So many farangs come here angry, she said one night at a little restaurant near her office. Angry at the government, angry at the rules, angry at Thailand. But the rules aren't personal. They're just rules. Once you understand that, everything becomes easier. I understood. Or I thought I did. What I really understood was that she was making my life easier in ways I hadn't realized I needed. When my apartment lease was up, she found me a better place. When I needed to open a bank account, she came with me to translate. When I got food poisoning and ended up in the hospital, she was the one who came to check on me, not because I asked, but because she cared. At least, that's what I told myself. You're taking care of me, I said one evening, as we walked along the Chongnansi Canal. I'm not used to that. She stopped walking and looked at me with those serious eyes. Russ, you spent 25 years taking care of other people's problems. Maybe it's time someone took care of yours. That's when I knew I was falling for her. Not just attracted to her, not just grateful to her, but falling in love with the idea of being cared for by someone who seemed to understand me. The next few months were the happiest I'd been in years. Patchery started handling more of my paperwork, not just the visa stuff but everything. Apartment contract renewals, utility bills, even small legal matters I didn't want to deal with. It's easier if I do it, she'd say. I know which offices to go to, which forms to use, which people to talk to. You focus on enjoying Thailand. I'll handle Thailand. And I let her. God help me, I let her handle everything. She was always so calm, so competent. When other expats complained about bureaucratic nightmares, I'd just smile and think about how lucky I was to have someone who knew the system. She knew judges by their first names. She knew which government offices closed early and which ones stayed open late. She knew who to tip and how much and when to do it. 20 years in this business, she'd say with pride. I know this system better than the people who made it. That should have been my first real warning, but I was too grateful to pay attention. When she suggested I buy a condo instead of renting, I thought it made financial sense. When she said it would be easier to put it in her name because of foreign ownership laws, I thought she was protecting me. Joint ownership is complicated, she explained, showing me documents I didn't really understand. This way, no problems with the land office, no problems with inheritance, no problems for you. I signed everything she put in front of me. I trusted her completely. By the time we'd been together 6 months, she was managing my entire life in Thailand, my bank account, my phone contract, my health insurance, even my grocery deliveries. You don't speak Thai? She'd say whenever I offered to handle something myself. Let me do it right the first time. And she did do it right. Everything worked perfectly. My visa renewals were smooth. My bills were paid on time. My life in Thailand was exactly what I dreamed it would be. I should have wondered why it was all so easy. The first crack in the facade came in month 7. I was trying to reach her one afternoon about some government letters that had arrived for me, but her phone went straight to voicemail. That was unusual. Patchery always answered her phone, especially for me. When I finally got through to her office, the receptionist said she was in a meeting with clients. But when I drove by later that evening, the office was dark, and her motorcycle wasn't in the parking area. Where were you yesterday? I asked her the next morning over breakfast. She looked tired, distracted. Court hearing, she said, not meeting my eyes. Immigration case, very complicated. I'd worked immigration law for decades. I knew court hearings were scheduled weeks in advance. I knew lawyers didn't just disappear without telling their clients. But I wanted to believe her, so I convinced myself I was being paranoid. Then the government letters started going missing. I'd get notifications on my phone about official mail, but when I got home, there was nothing in my mailbox. Maybe they delivered to the wrong apartment. Patchery suggested. Happens all the time. When I asked the building management, they said all mail was delivered properly. When I asked Patchery to follow up with the post office, she got defensive. "Why don't you trust me?" she said. "I've been handling your mail for months. Everything is fine." But everything wasn't fine. I could feel it in the way she looked at me now, like she was calculating something. I could hear it in her voice when she talked to other people in Thai, especially on phone calls she took when she thought I wasn't listening. I started catching words I recognized. Farang. Foreigner. Nangan. Work or money. Land office. Which made no sense because I didn't own any land. The worst was a conversation I overheard from the bathroom one evening. She was on the balcony talking to someone, speaking fast Thai, but I caught enough to make my stomach turn. She mentioned my name, then said something about verbal contract and marriage agreement and stupid farang. When I came out, she was off the phone and smiling like nothing had happened. "Who were you talking to?" I asked. "My sister," she said. "Family drama. Nothing important." I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. Because if I didn't believe her, then everything I'd built in Thailand was a lie. My new life, my new love, my new sense of purpose, all of it would crumble if I admitted what my gut was telling me. So I convinced myself I was being paranoid, that my old job had made me too suspicious, that I was sabotaging the best thing that had happened to me in years. I was still convincing myself right up until the black envelope arrived. It was a Tuesday morning in November. I was drinking coffee on the balcony, checking emails, enjoying the cooler weather. The building's security guard brought up an official-looking envelope with my name written in both Thai and English. Inside was a court summons in Thai with an English translation attached. I had to read it 3 times before I understood what I was looking at. Patchery Somchai was filing a civil lawsuit against Russell James Bannister, alleging breach of verbal marriage contract, failure to pay agreed-upon dowry, and fraudulent intent to marry under Thai law. She was seeking compensation in the amount of 2.5 million baht, plus ownership transfer of my condo, plus access to my Thai bank accounts, plus legal fees and damages for emotional distress caused by my deceptive romantic manipulation. I called her immediately. The phone rang once and went to a recording in Thai. I tried her office. "Miss Patchery is no longer available for client consultations," the receptionist said in careful English. "Please direct all communication through our legal department." I drove to her apartment building. The security guard said she'd moved out 3 days ago. No forwarding address. That evening, a motorcycle courier delivered another envelope. This one was from a different law firm, TC, one I'd never heard of. Inside was a formal cease and desist order demanding I stop all attempts to contact their client, Patchery Somchai. Any further contact would be considered harassment and stalking under Thai law. The letter was signed by someone named Somchart Thanakit, attorney at law, and it was written in the kind of formal English that sounds polite but means business. I sat in my condo that night, looking at the legal documents spread across the dining table, trying to understand how my life had turned into a nightmare. 6 months ago, I was planning to propose to this woman. Now she was suing me for fraud and trying to take everything I owned in Thailand. The woman who'd helped me navigate the legal system was now using that same system to destroy me. The worst part wasn't the money, though 2.5 million baht was most of what I had left in my Thai accounts. The worst part was the allegations. According to her lawsuit, every conversation we'd had about marriage had been a formal negotiation. Every gift I'd given her was evidence of dowry payments. Every romantic gesture was proof of my intent to enter into a legal marriage contract under Thai law, and by not following through with an actual wedding ceremony, I had committed fraud. Reading her version of our relationship was like looking at myself in a funhouse mirror. Everything was recognizable but distorted beyond belief. The weekend in Hua Hin became evidence that I'd introduced her to my intended family connections. The condo purchase became proof that I'd promised to provide her with marital housing. Even our private conversations about having children someday were listed as contractual discussions regarding reproductive obligations. I hired a lawyer the next morning. Somchart Thanikit came recommended by another expat who'd been through a similar nightmare. His office was in a gleaming tower near Siloam, all marble and mahogany and legal degrees in frames. "Mr. Bannister," he said in Oxford-accented English, "I'm afraid this is more common than you might think. Thai family law recognizes verbal marriage contracts, especially when there's evidence of cohabitation and financial support. The question is not whether you're guilty of fraud. The question is whether you can afford to fight it." He showed me similar cases. Expat men who'd been blindsided by Thai partners who suddenly claimed marriage contracts they'd never agreed to. Some had fought and won, but only after spending years in court and tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees. Others had settled, essentially paying their way out of relationships they thought had ended amicably. The system is designed to protect Thai nationals from exploitation by foreigners, Somchart explained. Unfortunately, that same protection can be weaponized by unscrupulous individuals. The first court hearing was 3 weeks later. I walked into that Bangkok courthouse feeling like I was walking into my own execution. The building was old and bureaucratic, with high ceilings and slow-moving fans and the kind of institutional beige paint that makes everything feel hopeless. Patchery was already there when I arrived, sitting with her lawyer at the plaintiff's table. She was wearing a black business suit I'd never seen before, her hair pulled back severely, looking like a completely different person from the woman who used to laugh at my jokes over morning coffee. She didn't look at me. Not once. Not when I walked in, not when the judge entered, not when her lawyer began presenting their case. She sat perfectly still, hands folded, staring straight ahead like I wasn't even in the room, like I'd never existed at all. Her lawyer spoke in rapid Thai, occasionally switching to English when he quoted from emails or text messages between us. He had everything. Screenshots of our conversations where I'd talked about our future together. Photos of us at dinner that he claimed were evidence of formal courtship rituals. Receipts from gifts I'd bought her that he said were dowry installments. Even the joint bank account we'd opened, which I'd thought was for household expenses, was presented as proof of our marital financial arrangements. I listened to my life being dissected and reinterpreted by strangers in a language I barely understood, and I felt something die inside me. Not just my trust in Patchery, but my trust in my own judgment. How had I been so wrong about everything? How had I missed every warning sign? How had I let myself become the kind of fool I used to protect people from? The judge asked me questions through a translator. Did I discuss marriage with Miss Somchai? Yes. Did I give her gifts? Yes. Did I promise to take care of her financially? Yes. Did I introduce her to my family? Yes, over video calls to my sister in Portland. Did I discuss having children with her? Yes. Each answer felt like another nail in my coffin. "Mr. Bannister," Somchart said during a recess, "we need to consider settlement. The evidence is substantial, and Thai courts tend to favor Thai nationals in these disputes." I looked across the courtroom at Patchery, still sitting ramrod straight, still refusing to acknowledge my existence. "What does she want?" I asked. Somchart checked his notes. "Transfer of condo ownership, 1 million baht cash settlement, dismissal of all counterclaims. In exchange, she drops the fraud allegations. 1 million baht, the condo, everything I'd built in Thailand. And if I don't settle?" I asked. "Then we go to trial, which could take 2 years and cost you more than the settlement anyway. And if you lose, you could face criminal fraud charges, which means jail time and deportation." I met with Patchery one last time before I made my decision. She agreed to see me at a hotel cafe near the courthouse, neutral territory. She arrived exactly on time, still wearing that black suit, still looking like a stranger. I'd practiced what I wanted to say, but when I saw her sitting there, calm and composed and completely unmoved, all my words evaporated. "How did we get here?" I asked her. She stirred her coffee slowly, deliberately, not meeting my eyes. "You knew the rules, Russ," she said finally. "I explained everything to you. The visa requirements, the property laws, the cultural expectations. I told you exactly how things work in Thailand." She looked up at me then, and her expression was completely blank. "You chose to trust me. That's not my fault. I trusted you because I loved you," I said. "I thought you loved me too." She shrugged, like love was just another legal concept she could manipulate. "Love is a feeling. Marriage is a contract. You promised me marriage. I accepted your promise. Under Thai law, that's binding whether you understand it or not. I never promised you marriage, I said. We talked about it, we joked about it, but I never made any formal promise. She pulled out her phone and played a voice recording. It was my voice, from that night on the beach in Hua Hin, saying, maybe we should make this official, maybe we should get married. I'd been drunk, romantic, caught up in the moment. She'd been recording everything. You recorded our private conversations? I said. She nodded matter-of-factly. I record all my important business meetings, she said. This was business, Russ. It was always business. You just didn't want to see it. She stood up to leave, and I grabbed her arm desperately. Patchery, please. We can work this out. We don't have to do this through lawyers. We can talk, we can figure out something fair. She looked down at my hand on her arm, then back at my face, and for just a moment I thought I saw something human in her expression. Then it was gone. Fair? She said. Russ, you had 25 years to learn how immigration law works. You knew exactly what you were doing when you came to Thailand looking for a wife. You knew exactly what you were doing when you chose someone half your age who worked in visa law. You knew exactly what you were doing when you let me handle all your paperwork and all your money and all your legal affairs. You set this up perfectly. I just finished what you started. She walked away, and I never saw her again. I signed the settlement agreement the next morning. The condo transferred to her name. 1 million baht disappeared from my account. My retirement dream became her business investment. I moved into a smaller apartment in Thonglor, close enough to my old building that I can see it from my balcony, but far enough away that I don't run into memories every day. I still live in Bangkok. I couldn't afford to go anywhere else after the settlement, and honestly, I didn't want to. Running back to Portland would have felt like admitting complete defeat. At least in Thailand, I can pretend I'm here by choice, not because I'm trapped by my own stupidity and depleted bank account. I help other expats now, informally. Nothing official, nothing paid, just coffee conversations with guys who remind me of myself 6 months ago. Guys who are sure they've found the perfect Thai girlfriend who understands them like no one ever has. Guys who think their 20 years of experience in whatever field makes them immune to being scammed by someone smarter and more desperate than they are. Guys who are about to learn the same lesson I learned, but probably won't listen to me any more than I would have listened to someone trying to warn me. The thing about Thailand, I told Colin just yesterday, he's a retired accountant from Manchester who's been raving about his new girlfriend who works at an immigration office, is that it's not the country that gets you. It's yourself. It's wanting something so badly that you ignore every warning sign. It's being so grateful for attention that you don't ask why someone is giving it to you. It's being so tired of being alone that you'll pay any price to not be alone anymore, even if the price is everything you have. Colin nodded politely, but I could see in his eyes that he thought it would be different for him. His girl is different. His situation is different. He's smarter, more careful, more experienced. He's not like me, which is exactly what I thought about myself when I first met Patchery. I don't blame Thailand. I don't even blame Patchery. Not really. She told me the truth from the beginning. She said she knew the system better than the people who made it. She said immigration law was like cooking, and if you understand the ingredients, you can make anything taste good. She said she liked to know who she was helping because most people just want the stamp, but I wanted to build a life there. She was right about all of it. She did know the system. She did understand the ingredients. She did know who she was helping. A lonely old fool with money and legal vulnerabilities and a desperate need to believe he was loved. And she was right that I wanted to build a life there. I just didn't realize she was planning to build her life on the ruins of mine. The last time I saw her was in the settlement hearing. She signed the papers with the same careful precision she'd always used for my visa applications. When it was over, she shook hands with her lawyer, gathered her documents, and walked out of the courtroom without a glance in my direction, professional to the end. I sit on my balcony now, 40 floors above Bangkok, drinking tea that's getting cold and wondering what I learned from all this. I learned that love and business look exactly the same, until suddenly they don't. I learned that gratitude and manipulation can occupy the same space. I learned that being right about other people's relationships doesn't make you right about your own. I learned that Thailand didn't break my heart. I broke my own heart by refusing to see what was right in front of me. Most of all, I learned that some lessons cost everything you have to learn, and even then, you're not sure you've learned them correctly. All I know for certain is that I'm still here, still breathing, still able to warn other people about the trap I fell into. Whether they listen or not is up to them. I've got nothing left to lose except my ability to help people avoid the mistakes I made. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all any of us can do after we've lost everything, when times try to make sure the next guy doesn't lose as much as we did, even if he probably won't listen. Even if he'll probably make the same mistakes we made. Even if the only thing we really learned is how much we didn't know about ourselves. The sun is setting over Bangkok now, same as it did when I was happy, same as it did when I was heartbroken, same as it will tomorrow when someone else gets that black envelope in the mail. The city doesn't care about my story. Thailand doesn't care about my story. But maybe someone reading this will care enough to ask the right questions before they sign the wrong papers. That's all I've got left to give. Questions instead of answers. Warnings instead of wisdom. The truth about how easy it is to lose everything when you're trying so hard to find something.